The last thing I ever expected to find waiting at my front door was the beginning of the end. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I had finished my shift at the architecture firm a little earlier than usual. I thought I'd be sweet and surprise my fiancée Lauren by coming home and cooking dinner. We lived together in a cozy apartment in Portland, Oregon. Nothing extravagant, just a warm place we'd both called home for nearly 3 years. I still remember the way she smiled when we signed the lease together. But that day, her smile was the furthest thing from my mind. Sitting on our doorstep was a glittery gift bag, the kind you'd expect to see at a bridal shower. The tag hanging from the handle read, "To the wildest bride-to-be. You earned every second. Love, Kayla." I paused. Kayla had been Lauren's best friend since college, a walking whirlwind of drama drinks and selfies. I had always found her loud and chaotic, but I bit my tongue because Lauren adored her. Still, something about that note rubbed me the wrong way. You earned every second. What the hell did that mean? I brought the bag inside, placed it on the kitchen island, and stared at it like it might explode. I told myself it was harmless, probably just leftover props from her bachelorette party last weekend. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. At first, it was exactly what I expected: a cheap plastic tiara, a final fling before the ring sash glitter confetti, and a half-empty mini bottle of champagne. But then my heart dropped. At the very bottom of the bag was a pair of unfamiliar men's briefs used, and beneath that a flash drive. I hesitated, rationalized. Maybe it was a joke, something ridiculous Kayla put together to be edgy. But I knew better. My gut told me this wasn't a gag, it was a warning, one I couldn't ignore. I took a deep breath, plugged the flash drive into my laptop, and opened the single video file inside. That moment changed everything. To anyone looking in from the outside, Lauren and I were the perfect couple. We met at a friend's rooftop birthday party when we were both 24, fresh out of grad school, and still figuring life out. I was nursing a lukewarm IPA, scanning the crowd, when I saw her laughing at something across the patio. She had this glow like a summer evening, completely effortless. We ended up talking for hours that night. Music, travel, books, embarrassing childhood stories, nothing was off limits. By the time the cake came out, I was already thinking about how to ask her out. A few weeks later, we were official. A year after that, we moved in together. The apartment was small. The walls were thin and the heater rattled like an old car, but it was ours. We cooked meals together, stayed up late, binge-watching documentaries, and took weekend road trips to places neither of us had heard of. It felt real, solid. Sure, we had our differences. I was the pragmatic type: budget spreadsheets, grocery lists, early gym sessions. Lauren, on the other hand, lived for the moment. She had a flair for spontaneity. Surprise tattoos, last-minute trips to music festivals, brunches that turned into bar crawls. At times, it felt like we were balancing each other perfectly, my stability matched by her energy. And I didn't mind her being close with Kayla, even though Kayla had always given me bad vibes. She had a reputation for dragging Lauren into wild nights out that sometimes ended with her stumbling in at 3 a.m. I used to laugh it off, thinking it was harmless fun. I told myself that's just Lauren being Lauren. When I proposed on a snowy night in Seattle last winter, Lauren cried and said yes before I could even finish asking. We spent months planning the wedding together, choosing the venue, tasting endless cake samples, and debating over guest lists. I genuinely thought we were building something permanent, something built on trust. Looking back now, I wonder how many red flags I missed. How many moments I brushed off because I was so convinced that we were invincible. Turns out we weren't even close. As the video began playing on my screen, I tried to brace myself. I wasn't even sure what I was expecting, maybe a silly dance, a few drunk giggles, a harmless memory. But within the first 10 seconds, I knew it wasn't harmless. Not even close. The footage was a little shaky, likely filmed on someone's phone. It opened with Lauren sitting in a booth at what looked like a lounge or upscale club surrounded by her bridesmaids. She was wearing the tiara from the gift bag and that ridiculous sash. She looked stunning, her smile radiant, her hair curled in the way I loved, but the energy was off. It wasn't just celebration, it was reckless abandon. The next clip cut to her dancing on a stage surrounded by loud cheers. That stage wasn't in any normal club. It was a strip club. And Lauren wasn't just dancing, she was grinding against a male dancer in full costume while her friends screamed and filmed. My stomach twisted. I paused the video. I wanted to stop watching to pretend that was the worst of it, but some force kept me glued to the screen. My heart was thudding like a war drum. I clicked play again. The clip continued, Lauren laughing flushed from the drinks and the spotlight. Then she reached for the dancer's hand and pulled him off stage, disappearing toward a private room. A few seconds of shaky camera movement, and then the recording ended. I could have turned it off, I should have. But I didn't. The next file was worse. Lauren was in what appeared to be a lounge suite at a hotel, seated on a plush sofa with 3 men. They were all drinking, talking, and laughing until one leaned in and kissed her. Not a peck, a full-on kiss, and she didn't flinch. She kissed him back with the same fire I used to see in her eyes for me. Then another guy kissed her, then the third. By the end of the video, she was holding hands with all 3, leading them toward a door labeled Private Suite. But the worst part wasn't what she did. It was Kayla's voice behind the camera laughing and saying, "Queen behavior. You're killing it, babe. No regrets. Bride of the damn year." I sat there in our kitchen, surrounded by the silence of our home, feeling like someone had cracked open my rib cage and carved out my heart. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. This wasn't the woman who used to curl up next to me after long work days. This wasn't the person who spent hours picking floral arrangements with me or cried while reading her draft vows. This was someone I didn't recognize. And I suddenly realized I might never have really known her at all. Lauren walked through the front door at 6:12 p.m., humming to herself with a latte in hand. She kissed me lightly on the cheek, like she always did, and dropped her keys in the ceramic bowl by the door. I could still feel the warmth of her lips on my skin, but it made me sick. That same mouth had kissed 3 strangers less than a week ago. She chattered about work, about Kayla's amazing taste in centerpieces, about how she couldn't wait to finalize our honeymoon itinerary. I just stood there nodding occasionally, my hands gripped tightly around the kitchen counter behind me. She had no idea, none. I couldn't even look her in the eye. I smiled when she smiled, played along with the conversation, even made a joke about wedding favors. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream or accuse or ask. How could you? Because deep down, I already knew it wouldn't matter. Whatever excuse she gave, whatever alcohol-fueled defense or twisted justification she prepared, it wouldn't change what I'd seen. That night after she fell asleep next to me, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy with betrayal. My brain wouldn't stop playing the footage on loop. Her laughter, the way she leaned into their kisses, the gleam in her eyes as she disappeared into that hotel room. And all the while, Kayla's voice egging her on echoed like a drumbeat in the back of my mind. No regrets. Bride of the damn year. I turned onto my side, facing away from her. She curled up behind me, unaware, resting her head on my shoulder like she had done countless times before. But I felt nothing. Not warmth, not love, only numbness. I kept asking myself, had this been going on all along? Had she done this before? Or was this just one final explosion of recklessness before walking down the aisle? It didn't matter anymore, because the woman lying next to me wasn't my partner. She wasn't the woman I wanted to marry. She was someone else, someone I didn't recognize and couldn't forgive. At 6:43 the next morning, she kissed me on the forehead and said, "I can't wait to see you tonight, babe." I smiled and whispered, "Me too." But inside, I'd already decided I was leaving. The moment the front door clicked shut behind Lauren that morning, I stood frozen in the hallway, staring at the empty space where she'd just been. My heart wasn't racing, it was dead quiet, like the calm after an explosion. I didn't sit, I didn't think, I just moved. I walked into our bedroom, grabbed my old black duffel bag from the closet, and began packing. Shirts, jeans, socks, my laptop charger, headphones, my passport just in case. I moved quickly, almost methodically, like I was following muscle memory I didn't know I had. For the first time in my life, I had no plan, but I had purpose. I didn't touch the furniture. I didn't care about the matching dishes we picked out at Crate and Barrel, or the decorative pillows Lauren insisted on for the living room. Let her keep the couch. Let her keep everything. I just wanted out. As I zipped the bag, I looked around one last time. Our apartment, once full of warmth, now felt like a staged lie. The framed engagement photos on the mantel made my stomach turn. I pulled them down and left them face down on the counter. I opened my phone and searched for places to stay. I didn't want a sterile hotel near downtown Portland. I needed distant space where no one knew me, and I didn't have to answer questions. That's when I found a quiet lakeside cabin rental about 90 miles east, just outside Bend. Remote, rustic, peaceful. I booked it immediately for a week, paid in full. Before leaving, I went to my desk and pulled out a folder labeled Wedding. Inside were all our vendor contracts, caterer, florist, venue. I made a quick call to the event coordinator and canceled the reservation. The woman on the phone asked why. I told her plans changed and nothing more. She mentioned a cancellation fee. I said, "That's fine. Cancel it anyway." I grabbed my keys and walked out without a backward glance. The drive was long but quiet. I didn't listen to music. I didn't cry. I just drove the GPS softly guiding me while my mind spiraled back to what I saw in that video. The hotel room, the kisses, the strangers, and her smile through it all. Halfway there, I stopped at a gas station to grab water and a snack. As I stood at the register, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I didn't need to check. It was her. The buzzing continued, calls, then texts, then more calls. She was home by now. She'd walked into our apartment and found it hollow. My clothes gone, my laptop gone, my presents erased. I silenced the phone and slid it into my glove box. I didn't want to hear explanations. I didn't want apologies. What I wanted was air. Silence, a place where her voice couldn't reach me. The cabin was everything I needed and nothing more. A small wooden structure with a fireplace, a creaky bed, and a view of a still lake under pine trees. I stepped inside, dropped my bag, and sat on the edge of the bed. For the first time that day, I breathed. I was gone, and she didn't even see it coming. By the second night at the cabin, the silence was no longer peaceful, it was heavy. Every time my phone buzzed, I ignored it. Dozens of missed calls, dozens more unread texts from Lauren. At first, they were light. Where are you? Did you go out without telling me? But by the third wave, panic set in. Why is your stuff gone? Are you okay? Please just call me, we can talk. I didn't respond. I wasn't ready. But there was one person I needed to talk to, and it wasn't Lauren. It was Kayla. She wasn't just a background character in this betrayal, she was the cheerleader, the instigator, the voice behind the camera cackling no regrets. I wasn't going to give her the chance to weasel out of it. Instead of calling her directly, I downloaded a burner texting app and sent a message. Kayla, it's Owen. We need to talk about Lauren. Coffee house on 8th, tomorrow, noon. She replied in less than 5 minutes. WTF, are you okay? Is Lauren okay? What's this about? I didn't answer. The next day, I drove into the city and parked a few blocks from the cafe. I arrived 5 minutes after noon. Kayla was already there wearing oversized sunglasses, indoors, a neon blazer, and 6-inch heels that made her look like she was going clubbing, instead of meeting someone whose life she helped destroy. She was mid-sip on an iced coffee when I slid into the seat across from her. Her sunglasses slipped slightly. Owen, she said, clearly rattled. You scared me with that text. Is Lauren okay? What's going on? I didn't waste time. Cut the act, Kayla. I know everything. The flash drive, the package, the video, all of it. Her face froze. What video? I leaned forward. Don't play dumb. You filmed it. I heard your voice. She let out a weak laugh. Owen, come on. It was just party stuff. You're not really upset about that, are you? Upset, I repeated louder than I meant to. You sent my fiancé into a hotel room with 3 strangers, and then you packaged that night up in glitter and a taunting note like it was some kind of prize. Kayla shifted in her seat, looking around. Her voice dropped to a hiss. It wasn't like that, it was just one night. No harm, no foul, you know, tradition. I pulled out my phone and opened the gallery. I showed her the screenshots, the messages she sent Lauren. Legend, you owned that night, girl. Don't feel bad, you deserved every second. Her eyes widened. You went through her phone? No, you left it all for me like a gift of betrayal. She crossed her arms and tried to compose herself. Look, I didn't force her to do anything. She made her own choices. She's an adult, sure, but you were the one narrating it like it was an episode of The Bachelor Uncut. You encouraged it. You enabled it. You helped her burn everything we built. Kayla rolled her eyes. It's not like she doesn't love you. It was just fun. You guys can get past this. I slammed my palm on the table, making her jump. Past this, she had sex with 3 men while you cheered her on. That's not a bump in the road, that's a crater. She looked around nervously. Okay. I'm sorry. All right, I didn't think it would go that far. I didn't mean for this to happen. No, Kayla, I said as I stood up, you meant every second. And now you're just sorry you got caught. I leaned in one last time, locking eyes with her behind her ridiculous sunglasses. Everyone's going to know exactly the kind of friend you are. As I walked out of the cafe, I didn't look back. She wasn't worth another second of my attention. Driving back to the cabin, I played the entire conversation with Kayla over again in my head. Her excuses, her smirking apologies, the way she tried to pass it off as some twisted tradition, it made my skin crawl. But as much as I wanted to put all the blame on her, I couldn't ignore what she said before I walked out. She's a grown woman. She made her own choices. That stung more than I expected because it was true. Kayla didn't force Lauren into anything. She didn't drag her into that hotel suite. She didn't make her kiss those men or disappear behind that door. Lauren did all of that on her own. That's when it hit me. I wasn't running from Lauren. I was running from the truth of who she really was. Back at the cabin, I opened my laptop, heart pounding, and began organizing the files. Screenshots, videos, timestamps, the note, all of it. I wasn't ready to confront Lauren yet, but I couldn't let Kayla spin her version of events to everyone we knew. If I stayed silent, she'd rewrite the narrative, and I wasn't going to let that happen. So I crafted a short, direct message. I sent it along with select screenshots and a snippet of the footage to a few people we both trusted, mutual friends who'd attended the engagement party, people who believed in us as a couple. The subject line was simple: "You deserve to know the truth." I didn't trash Lauren, I didn't rant, I let the evidence speak for itself. By the time I finished sending those emails, my inbox had already started to light up with replies. One of the first was from Sarah, one of Lauren's oldest friends. We weren't particularly close, but she'd always been kind to me. "Owen, I'm so sorry, I had no idea. This is devastating. Please let me know if you need anything." Others followed, some with apologies, some with disbelief, and a few with anger directed at Kayla and Lauren both. But I wasn't done. There was still one conversation I needed to have, one that would burn the bridge for good. Lauren's parents, Janet and Marcus Whitaker, had always looked at me like I was a nice enough placeholder until someone better came along. They were old-school Southern, loaded with wealth and judgment. When Lauren and I first moved in together, Janet acted like we were living in sin. She didn't say it out loud, but she didn't have to. Her size and raised eyebrows spoke volumes. Marcus rarely said anything, but his silence always carried a heavy tone of disapproval. Ironically, things only improved after I proposed. Suddenly, I was part of the family. Janet started inviting me to brunch. Marcus offered help with a down payment for a house. I was finally deemed worthy because I gave their daughter a ring. Well, now I was taking that ring back. I didn't tell Lauren I was coming. I drove straight to their home in Lake Oswego, parked in the circular driveway, and rang the bell. Janet opened the door, her eyes immediately scanning me for answers. "Owen, thank goodness. Lauren's been calling nonstop. She's terrified. What's going on?" I stepped inside without waiting for permission. "Where's Marcus?" I asked. "In the study," she said, clearly uneasy. I walked past her and into the wood-paneled room where Marcus sat sipping scotch and reading the Wall Street Journal like nothing could touch him. He looked up. "Owen, thought you were off the grid." I sat across from him and took a breath. "I'm here because you both need to know the truth. The wedding is off, and it's not because of cold feet." Janet entered and sat beside him, clutching her necklace. "What happened?" she asked, worried. I took out my phone, opened the folder, and handed it to Marcus. "Your daughter had her own celebration the night of her bachelorette party. This is what she did." He watched the screen in silence. Janet gasped before the video even reached the halfway point. "Oh my God," she whispered, voice trembling. "Please tell me this isn't real." "It's very real," I replied. "And I didn't come here for sympathy. I came because you deserve to see who she really is, who you've defended so blindly." Marcus looked like he was ready to throw the phone across the room. His face turned red, and for a moment I thought he might. Janet broke down, crying, hands over her face. "I can't believe this. I can't believe Lauren would— Oh my God." "She made her choices," I said, standing up. "And now she has to live with them. I'm done cleaning up her messes." Marcus finally spoke. "You're right." As I headed for the door, Janet grabbed my arm. "Owen, please don't tell anyone else." Think of the family, the embarrassment. I pulled my arm gently away. That's not my problem anymore. And with that, I walked out. I didn't expect Janet to leave a voicemail the same evening I told them everything, but she did. Her voice cracked under the weight of it all. "Owen, this is Janet. We confronted Lauren. She completely fell apart. She said she doesn't know how to fix this, and honestly, neither do we. I just want you to know we're so sorry." I deleted the message without hesitation. They could deal with her now. I was done being her shelter, her second chance, her excuse. But what surprised me most was how fast the truth snowballed. First came the friends. I had sent the evidence to only a few people I trusted, but news travels fast when it's scandalous. Within days, Lauren had gone from the beloved bride-to-be to the outcast of her own social circle. Rachel, one of her closest friends and an accomplice that night, called me sobbing. "Owen, I didn't know it got that bad. I thought it was just harmless fun. I should have said something. I'm so sorry." I let her talk, but I didn't comfort her. I wasn't angry, not anymore. I was indifferent. That hurt more than rage ever could. Then came Kayla's fall. After the confrontation at the cafe, she must have realized the ground under her was crumbling. One by one, people began turning their backs on her. Even Rachel, who'd once called her a force of nature, stopped taking her calls. Eventually, Kayla sent me one last angry text. "I don't know what you're telling people, but now everyone's treating me like I'm poison. Hope you're happy." I didn't respond. Let her taste the isolation she brewed. Lauren, meanwhile, spiraled. Her texts kept coming, first confused, then apologetic, then desperate. "Owen, please, I'm sorry, I lost everything. Just talk to me, please." When her pleas didn't work, she started reaching out to our friends. That didn't help either. Chloe, a mutual friend, forwarded me one of Lauren's messages. "Everyone's ghosting me. Rachel won't even return my calls. Kayla won't let me stay with her. I have no one." Her friends didn't just walk away, they ran. By the end of the week, Lauren was couch hopping between distant acquaintances. She'd tried staying with Kayla after being kicked out of her parents' house. But after their explosive fight, Kayla slammed the door in her face, literally. "She's not my responsibility anymore," Chloe texted me. Kayla told her she's done cleaning up other people's disasters. Lauren had nowhere to go. Her parents, Marcus and Janet, had reached their limit. Apparently, Lauren's response after being confronted was to play the victim. She claimed I overreacted, said it was just one mistake, and that I had no right to destroy her life over it. Wrong move. That response enraged Janet more than anything I'd ever seen. According to Chloe, Janet screamed at her daughter, "You're an embarrassment to this family. You threw away your future for what, one reckless night." By the following morning, all of Lauren's belongings had been packed and left on her parents' front porch. She was officially disowned until she, in Janet's words, learned what accountability meant. From there, the collapse snowballed. Lauren lost her job, one her father had pulled strings to get for her. She'd been coasting for months, showing up late, slacking off, and pushing her luck. Once the personal drama began leaking into her workplace, the company took action. She was quietly let go due to departmental restructuring, but everyone knew the truth. Chloe filled me in. "She's falling apart. She's renting a room in some dingy apartment with her last savings, working at a coffee shop barely covering rent. It's the lowest I've ever seen her." That image, Lauren going from manicured brunches to minimum wage shifts, should have felt satisfying. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a glimmer of grim vindication. But it wasn't joy I felt. It was justice. For years, Lauren had danced through life with a safety net woven by privilege and charm. Someone always caught her, her parents, her friends, me. But this time, she landed hard, and no one was there to soften the fall. I hadn't heard from Lauren in over a week, and for once, the silence was a relief. There were no more desperate texts, no missed calls clogging my notifications, no pleas or promises to change, just silence. I was sitting on the wooden deck of the lakeside cabin one early morning, the air still cool, a mug of black coffee warming my hands when it finally hit me I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of who I thought she was. The version of Lauren I had loved, built a life with, imagined a future with. But she didn't exist. Maybe she never did. I had spent 6 years giving everything to a relationship that had ended the moment she chose to betray it. And for the first time since I left, I didn't feel sadness. I felt free, no longer tethered to her chaos, her apologies, or the weight of holding a dream together by myself. I wasn't mourning anymore. I was healing. Later that day, I got a text from Eric, one of the few mutual friends who had stayed in touch through the fallout. Just heard from Chloe, Lawrence barely scraping by. Got evicted from the apartment she rented. Her parents won't take her back. Kayla's ghosted her. She's completely alone, man. I stared at the message and let it sink in. And then I did something I hadn't done in months. I exhaled. Not out of relief at her downfall, but out of peace, because it was no longer my responsibility. I wasn't angry, I wasn't bitter, I was just done. It would have been easy to twist the knife, to tell everyone more, to post the video online, to publicly humiliate her the way she humiliated me in private, but I didn't. Because my closure didn't come from revenge. It came from walking away. I never responded to her final text, the one Chloe said she sent after losing her apartment. Owen, please. I don't know where else to go. I'm sorry. Please just talk to me. There was nothing left to say. The man who once would have dropped everything to comfort her, the one who would have fought the world for her, he no longer existed. He had been broken down, stripped away, and rebuilt into someone stronger, someone who chose peace over pain, freedom over illusion. I watched the sun rise above the pine trees that morning and made myself a promise I would build something better, with someone who saw love as sacred, not expendable. Lauren had been my past, but this clarity, this stillness, this moment, this was my future.